Dr. Alexander Gregory strode through the airport terminal, bold green eyes seeking out the arrivals board. He was tall with wavy chestnut-brown hair and a physique that had once been slim but was now beginning to show the benefits of a monthly gym membership. He was dressed casually in jeans and a light jumper and carried an air of purpose. When he passed a florist's concession, his footsteps slowed. Would it be too much? "Flowers are never too much," he muttered. A couple of minutes later, he was beginning to regret his own advice, for a quandary presented itself, namely, which flowers to choose. Lilies? They reminded him of funerals. Daisies? Too frivolous for the lady in question. Pansies, peonies? Too bridal. He was about to abort the mission entirely when his gaze fell upon an array of roses in all shades of pink and red. 2 dozen of the Grand Prix, please," he found himself saying, and brushed a fingertip over the velvet petals of the largest variety on display, which came in a shade of deep scarlet red. "For your wife?" the florist asked, being possessed of a romantic heart. "Lucky lady." Gregory didn't contradict her, which was something he would have to think about later, and merely gave a bland smile before dropping some notes into her waiting palm. Outside, he looked down at the bouquet he held in his hands and realized something that was both unsettling and pitiable in equal measure. It was the first bouquet of flowers he'd ever purchased. "First time for everything," he told himself, and continued towards the arrivals hall, shortly before passengers bound from JFK were due to emerge. Gregory was seldom surprised, nor susceptible to nerves. As a psychiatrist working from Southmore Hospital for the best part of a decade, he dealt with the most disturbed minds their country had created and for whom prison wasn't deemed safe. The work had desensitized him to many of the mundane stresses that life tended to dole out, but as he stationed himself by the arrivals door, he caught himself fidgeting from one foot to the other and checking the time on his watch every few seconds, as though he could speed up the process by willpower alone. Eventually, the security doors opened and passengers began to trail out, dragging suitcases and a general air of exhaustion behind them. He turned away from an idle inspection of a couple dressed in shell suits and flip-flops to face a pair of large brown eyes set inside the perfectly oval face of a very lovely woman. "Naomi," he said, and released the air he'd been holding tightly in his chest. They looked at one another, and Alex, who was usually a proficient reader of minds, wondered what was passing through hers. The first time Dr. Naomi Palmer had seen him, he'd been working undercover inside the exclusive Buchanan Institute in the Catskill Mountains. The man she'd met, and believed to have been her patient, had been playing a part. Although whilst he'd only pretended to be Michael Jones, there'd been little difference between him and the real Alexander Gregory, except for a name.